Anyway, let's go ahead and call it to order. It's what looks like 6:01. You don't like us tonight?
Oh, I figured
You know, you steal
show
my
that we
folders.
have an absence here.
I wouldn't move closer, show it keeps you stealing
Well,
something.
I was gonna say, I sat over here next to that manila folder the last time, I got me in all sorts of trouble.
Okay, I'm gonna hold everything on.
Hey.
All right, so, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of November 22nd, 2016. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from November 22nd, 2016, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 3rd, 2016, which was a special meeting.
So be
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the special meeting on December 3rd, 2016, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Additions and deletions. You know what you didn't get me was my clipboard that has my
Oh,
correspondence on it.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's some important things we should look at. I added about 10 things.
Oh, thank you.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
You're just really out to make my night, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Okay. No additions, deletions? All right. Okay, I don't have a highway foreman. So let's go ahead and move on down to law enforcement. There's nothing to report other than we got a bill. It was in the warrants.
The usual.
So this, the standard monthly. Town clerk, you all got counter money, a report of the counter money that's been taken in. So I guess really quickly, we got to you, Mr. Treasurer.
Moving right along here.
You have $29,892.73 in the checking account, and in the other account, you have $1,511,696.05.
Okay, now, can we take Kathy's blood pressure, because we've got over $500,000 worth of bills here. And when you start with a lower number, I about just had coronary.
Can you give me that number again? Sort of account number? Okay. 29,892.73. Yeah, that wasn't gonna cover the warrants for the.
No, wasn't gonna cover paying the schools.
Hey.
You have to pay them by the 20th.
Yeah, but they're up for signing.
Okay, then moving on. Which one do we want to do here? Let's talk about the CPA, the update from the meeting today. I'll let you do that.
You'll let me do that, huh?
Well, I'll do it if you want me to.
Yeah, I'll let you fill in. I'll just bring the board members that I called P Checking Company on Thursday last week, and made arrangements to meet with Bob today, just to go over some of the issues that they're gonna face in looking through our books for the last 17 months, basically. And we had a very good conversation, Tim Fogg did, and they seem up for the challenge. I mean, we left on a pretty positive note. They didn't seem daunted by any of the things that I threw their way, any of the issues that we know about. So they have about 80% of the requested paperwork and electronic data, and they should be starting, they probably started sometime today organizing that and beginning to look at the books. So we should be hearing from them, I would assume, daily, within the next couple of days with questions and responses and comments. I didn't get a feel for how long this might take. They don't know, they haven't gotten into it yet. But I did feel that they have some confidence in going in, that some of the issues they're either familiar with from other work that they've done, or that, well, anyway, they weren't scared away. And it was a good meeting, lasted about an hour and a half, covered a lot of territory.
So just to bring everybody up to date on what the basis for that report is, the professional audit that we scheduled in October of this year to go over the books from 2016 for FY16 had to be suspended because the books were not in sufficient order and there was not enough prep done for them to be able to actually audit the books. One of the recommendations that the auditor made was, in fact, that we seek some help from a CPA firm, local firm, to help get everything back in line. And we have, in fact, engaged P-Check and Company to come in and to help us get those books, get 2016 straightened out and the beginning of this year so that we can start from ground zero. And when we get to the town report piece, or the town report piece, we'll discuss the fact that we're going to need an statement from the auditor, from McSorley McCoy, which I do have the letter that he sent to the select board, which will appear in that report as the auditor's report saying they could not do it. And then there will be a secondary piece from P-Check and Company saying they're in the process of doing corrective work on the book. So those are the two pieces that are going to be in the auditor's report at this point in time. We still probably will not have finalized numbers in time to add them to the budget, but we will have all the different legal pieces that we need to go into town meeting.
Well, as a further clarification, the select board had a special meeting, an emergency meeting on the 3rd of December in order, the result of that was basically to appoint me to be a liaison, in essence, to P-Check and Company in order to expedite this process. Much of the failure of the audit in October was due to non-preparation of paperwork. It's been 6 weeks now since then, and we have been for the last 6 or 8 days, massively pulling documents out and printing files and reports for the CPAs to review. They will help us hopefully get back to a corrected baseline so that we can go forward from here clearly. But things are very upside down for the last year, and the auditors in October could not work with the information they were getting from the finance office, what little was prepared for them in advance. And that's why we have a CPA looking at the books right now.
Okay, so then moving on to, under the treasurer, the 2017-18 payroll service quote. Now, I'm not really certain, is this monthly or is this per
This would
time?
be per payroll, and it's essentially the same as it has been for years, $70 plus minus dollars. It depends on the number of people that you have on
So it's,
in your system, $1.50 per edition. We vary from 14 to 20 people depending on seasonal.
so it appears that the quote for the payroll service is $70.44 a month, or a pay period rather. And we're going to need to make a decision one way or another after the first, or for the first of the year, as to whether or not we want to go with the service.
We actually need to decide that fairly quickly because they have a deadline. A lot of data needs to be put in.
Right.
People's Bank, if we go with People's Bank again, has changed services from Encore to Sage. They do have access to the information that they had last year when we canceled our contract with them. Much of that information is still the same. The employees, the elected officials are still the same now as they were last December when we went to the NIMRIC system. Nonetheless, those numbers, those mailing addresses, the rates of pay, that'll all have to be verified again. And some personnel has changed, some staffing has changed. So we would need to, if we're going to do that, and if it's going to begin on January 1st, they need to know pretty quickly, maybe this week, certainly by the beginning of next week, what we intend in order to get us in the system and get them up and running for basically January 1st.
So since we've discussed it, this is the only quote you got?
Yeah, that was just, right.
Okay.
It's essentially the same as it was. I mean, it varies from payroll to payroll, but It's all on $75 mark.
do we need any additional information?
I don't,
Then what would you like to do with,
Make a motion to go ahead with the People's Payroll Service.
it's actually Sage Payroll.
Sage
Yeah.
Payroll.
But it is through People's Bank.
Yeah. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there any discussion at all? And effective January 1?
Correct.
Okay.
How, do we have to make any length of time or anything on it, or?
It'll be an annual contract. I mean, it'll be open-ended.
Yeah.
If we engage them, they assume it's forever until we tell them to stop, and we would probably let it run for a year, because the primary reason for doing this is so the quarterly payments, taxes, deductions, retirement, all those things get done correctly. It still requires work on this end. We still have to duplicate it basically in the NIMRIC system to get it through our software. We don't have somebody confident enough to do it in-house at this point. Training is available, but you're starting, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
It's Christmas, and you're not gonna train, I don't think, somebody before January 1st to,
It says here too on the bottom, if you're not completely satisfied, you can stop with the service within 180 days
Okay.
of the first payroll processing. So, you got about 6 months to
yeah.
figure out whether you like them or don't.
Is there any additional conversation, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of engaging Sage Payroll Services effective January 1st, 2017, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. So whatever it is that you need to take care of
Okay.
in the way of getting that,
Nothing else going on this week, sure.
no,
Yeah,
not a
okay.
problem.
Yeah. We'll take
The-
care
it's
of
not like there's holidays in
it. Yeah.
All right. You need to talk to.
You've got other things on that clipboard.
I know,
Yes, yeah.
you need to talk to the front office about the fob for them, because I don't think we're gonna have to go through that whole process again.
Talk to them about what?
The fob, the number fob, perhaps they just use their own, but you're gonna need to square that away, that took an immense amount
Oh,
of
no,
time the last time.
yes,
Okay,
yeah. We'll set it up.
all right, the FEMA, the ERAF money, we just wanna make note that state money did come in on East Hill, so we're now officially finished.
Roughly 36,000 ahead. Well,
Yay.
we've recovered. Whatever
What
year
is
that's
this,
supposed to be, I don't know where that's.
2016, that was how many years ago?
14 is when we finalized the payments on it, but, yeah.
Okay, no problem. So are we ready to go on the warrants? We'll go back to Kurt and the highway if he actually comes in. We heard he's not?
We have not heard, no, I'm talking this morning.
I do all this. See my payments here. Make a motion to approve, check warrant report number 1, in the amount of $11,883.57.
For a second?
Okay.
That's payroll.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, there was a few things on there. I was hoping we'd see Kurt, ask him about them, but
Well, it doesn't look like it's got 3 signatures on it anyway.
It does or
no,
doesn't?
it doesn't.
Does not.
Okay, well, maybe we'll hold that one until such time as you can discuss it with your highway department. It's in and seconded, and you can,
So why don't we just skip over that one for the time being, the warrants, so the warrant is still up, the motion's still valid. And if Kurt does come in, then Rob can ask his questions
Yeah.
under discussion. So go ahead with number 2 then.
Thank you.
That's gonna be a function of number 1.
you're gonna pay the taxes anyway.
Well, that's true. So yeah, go ahead and read it.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 2, payroll taxes, in the amount of $4,367.53.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying payroll taxes in the amount of $4,367.53 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 3 out of the general fund in the amount of $7,215.78.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 3 in the amount of $7,215.78 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 4 out of the general fund in the amount of $579,917.68.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can you read that one again for me? 579.
579,917.68.
Now you know why I had a coronary when you said there was only 200,000 in the,
29,000.
yeah, it was 29,000, that's right. Anyway,
No, that's both the schools and McSullivan and Boyd.
yes,
Yes.
the major expenses in that one. So was there a second? I didn't hear.
Yes.
Okay, is there any discussion?
No, that was Irv seconded, the school.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 4 in the amount of $579,917.68 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Do you want to pay that immediately tomorrow?
There's no reason to hold it.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 5 out of the general fund in the amount of $4,985.87.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 5 in the amount of $4,985.87 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 6 for the highway in the amount of $994.39.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 6 in the amount of $994.39 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 7 out of the highway fund in the amount of $20.88.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 7 in the amount of $20.88 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 8 out of the town equipment fund, the amount of $12,453.94.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the equipment warrant number 8 in the amount of $12,453.94 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 9 out of the highway fund in the amount of $170.02.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying highway warrant number 9 in the amount of $170.02 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve check warrant report number 10 out of the town general fund in the amount of $2,168.73.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying general fund warrant number 10 in the amount of $2,168.73 signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. All right. Take care of the bills. Members of the public. Okay, Andrea Royce was on, Andrea's not here. So why don't we use this opportunity to have you introduce yourself, since
Sure.
you've expressed interest in filling a vacancy on the
Yes.
board?
Yeah, my name's Will Bissonette. I live at 118 Back Wyndham. Bought the house in 2007. Been interested in government for a while, never really ponied up and joined up to help, but I feel like it might be time.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, or?
What do you do? Where are you from?
I grew up in Connecticut. I worked at Echo Point Books and Media in Brad. I was in the restaurant business for 30 years. I worked at Flat Street for a long time. I've done a couple of fill-in shifts up at Wyndham Hills and worked at 3 Mountain Inn a few years ago for a little while. Right now I'm doing inventory control in a book warehouse. We basically resell books online. I've been doing that for about a year.
So why do you want to get involved with our messes?
Well, because it's also my mess.
It truly is your mess.
It
And
really is yours.
it really is. And,
Okay.
you know, I don't feel like I caused a lot of it, but, you know, I think I bring a fresh perspective. I don't really know anything about the inner workings of town government, so I will be asking a lot of stupid questions.
That's okay, we do that all the time.
Well, yeah, it's, you know, my father used to say there's no such thing as a stupid question, and I'm very glad that that's true.
Okay, we'll probably have a discussion, this evening about what to do about filling the vacancy.
Okay.
I did make you aware in the email, I believe, that this would be until town meeting.
Yes.
At which time the voters
Yes.
would fill the seat, the
Yes.
vacancies. Okay, so you're aware of that. Okay, well, I appreciate you coming and hopefully you can stay through some of the controversial stuff. So far, it's been pretty quiet, except for my lost folder, which somebody had.
Have you had opportunity to watch this on TV?
I watched a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Ryan's here.
Okay, good.
Good evening, Mr. Schmidt.
There's something I don't know.
Kids thought it was back.
Okay, well then, since the fire department contingent is here, why don't we go ahead and let them do their thing, members of the public. We had some questions on the sheet that you submitted about the equipment and how we didn't really understand where those expenses were occurring. There was a lot of equipment that was listed that we didn't really understand what was ours and what was yours, so to speak.
We had some questions actually for you.
I got
Oh,
a copy.
good, I'm glad somebody's got questions.
You can have my copy. I didn't make you one that's new. That's all new stuff, and here's a copy.
Is-
If anybody needs it of the highway proposed, I have a copy, Kyle's got it, of what they had originally proposed.
You mean the fire department?
Fire department, yeah, I'm sorry.
It's not in here?
What you,
On the top.
yeah.
You need a copy? I got
I
a
noticed
copy.
it when I took it.
No, I copied it, God.
Right there.
He's smart. Oh, Lord, it's gonna be one of those nights. Okay. I think the thing that we were confused about is we had two areas of new equipment. One under the firehouse and then one under new equipment for, I'm assuming the vehicles? Is that the way that's broken out?
That's some of our confusion too.
Because,
I believe
that's correct, yes.
Yes.
okay, so in other words, the new equipment at the $10,000 request is for that first group, that's seven things.
That should include that's building. per
That's
se.
also
Okay, so that all goes with the 10,000 for the building.
Correct.
The 10,000 originated out probably about 6 or 7 years ago when David Diesendorf was on there and wanted to help increase the fire department in getting new equipment, but also getting safety equipment and stuff. But also, I think it was a smaller amount to where it was for equipment for like the building and stuff. But that's the earliest that I could find it, and like Joe's the historian, he might know more about it, but that was my assumption when I came to town.
Does that answer your question?
It more or less does, so let's go to the new equipment for the vehicles then. That's the bottom, the 4 things on the bottom?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay,
Does that make more sense?
I guess.
Well, also, we wanted to point out too,
Because we got work lights,
we
and we
also wanted
got
to
light
point out,
bars.
some of those numbers that are increased there is actually looking at your actuals from what was budgeted and where we actually had been going over for a few years over budget. And not allowing, a good one was the workman's comp.
That's gone over.
Yep.
Well, that makes
The
sense.
electrical was another one.
Well, the only reason the electric went up is because you were part of the net metering for a while, and then it got redone,
That's still in.
and it's now moving again, so you may be the beneficiary.
Well, either way, we wanted to point those out to you, because you guys are actually the ones seeing, that's a number that you guys play with, not necessarily us,
To properly budget, yes.
to properly budget it.
To cover it.
Yeah, that was that, and telephone, no, telephone was, we readjusted telephone.
And we need to straighten that out.
Okay, so now you say because you were going over, I'm looking here, and every year that 3,000's been budgeted for the vehicle equipment. The one year I have an actual on came in at 24.
You find it now?
Yeah.
Well, we've noticed in some years prior to that, that those line items weren't necessarily getting spent or needed to be spent, or were being spent and taken out of different areas. I think some of that was and would be a good one, under that whole vehicle fire budget thing, was your repairs, remember? Probably was about 2 or 3 years ago, we had frickin' used the amount of repairs, which actually, some of that could have been partially because we sent an engine over to Valley Fire and had basically a huge major electrical rewiring job done, in which there were some new components put on the truck, which could it be considered new equipment, or is it part of the repair? And those are some of those reasons where I feel like sometimes those numbers, basically we have too many accounts and we should just have it under slash either, or keep it separated, one or the other.
Don't
But
start.
the bills need to be,
We've already done
The
that.
bottom line is, we look at the bottom line, but for your
We'll answer your
edification.
questions. Don't make more.
On the equipment, for example, you're talking about going over. On the equipment that would not be the vehicles, that's here on the firehouse. 2016, we budgeted 88, you spent $620. This year, there's budgeted, must have been at your request, $10,000. And I don't know where we are year to date, because I don't have.
you spent $7,500 of that was the air packs.
Okay, so that's where that
Yeah, we don't have.
Bill.
That's where that stuff goes out.
that's a show, that was in tonight's warrants.
We don't have November closed
It
down.
wasn't 7,500, it was.
I think,
72 or something, it changed from
I
what it
think
was
in
before.
that 2016, I think you said budget, we were $700 and something.
620.
Yeah, I don't think there was really any plans. We have listed plans of things we're
Okay,
gonna
so
do.
these are specific.
Specific
numbers that you-
things.
Okay.
Just like we spent the money on the tires, that was specifically for the tires.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about that. Now
That
it's-
came up tonight, yeah.
Yeah, it was tires for the,
Engine one.
engine one.
Right.
And it sends that particular line over budget. So that we're just, again, we're trying to figure out if we're putting too much in, too little in, I mean, what's going on, because it's moving all over the place.
Right, and I think we have a fairly good committee now on the budget to keep that under wraps.
Okay, so you think that where you are with your requests, you're going to be able to live within those barring some major catastrophe?
That's the plan, yes.
That's the biggest thing is.
What's the more than double on new equipment for the fire trucks?
For the fire trucks. I don't know if you have a copy of what we have, but
Yeah. you
we
do.
have specific things that we're looking to purchase for the truck. I don't know if you have those.
Last year you asked for 3,000, this year you're asking 7,500.
Correct,
So that's more than double, eh?
correct.
One of them is a new small pump, which is about $6,400.
For our brush truck that was donated to the department from another department.
Just because the pump on it is not a bad pump, it just doesn't work for the styles of firefighting that we do here versus where it came from.
And we're also looking at a better response as far as our interior firefighters. Currently we have 8 people who are capable of doing that. So part of that money is to mount the air packs so they're more accessible at a quicker pace.
But one thing you've gotta watch is the GVW. Because if you go start mounting a lot of extra equipment,
Yeah, but we're
Yeah,
not.
but it goes over the weight of that vehicle.
Yeah, but Urban, it's already on the truck. We're taking them out of the boxes and putting them on the wall.
So we're actually.
So they're easier to get, so you don't have to
No,
pull
but
the
I
box
say,
out.
you gotta
Yeah.
watch it at mounting them in a truck, because if you go over the GVW and something happens, you're in trouble.
Sure, but we're not actually adding any equipment to the
It'd
truck.
be exempt, shouldn't they?
Well, no, you still don't wanna go over the gross vehicle weight because it'll make it unsafe to operate. In which Brian's been working on getting them weighed and everything too, so.
Your communications proposal, is that a good number? You were talking about radios, pages.
That was the question we had, and Brian, I don't want
You
to
can
trump
answer
Brian,
that,
but
because you have-
I remember back when we put that $5,000 in that fund for the communications, when we were on the board, Kathy was there, and Kyle, was to build a better system amongst the town, for the town crew and us. And see, that was gonna go on the tower that isn't going up anymore. But we still have that issue, and we actually have started to research a little bit of putting a mini repeater tower in the firehouse, or on one of the mobile units, so we actually could use the portables better and make our portables be useful more readily for us.
But you think that's a realistic number if you go forward?
Well, we also need radios too. We need some pagers and stuff like that. But the idea is could we use that money to buy radios and pay? I mean, that's in this year's allotment. Do we want to continue that line? We would like to continue that line. And if we are able to continue that line, maybe we could take this year's and last year's and add it together and actually make ourselves a repeater system that we might be able to actually even use with the town. I don't know.
I would suggest you not do that, and the reason I make that suggestion is because, as you just heard, we're busy maneuvering numbers within the town. And you try to set that aside as a reserve in the
I
midst of
understand what you're
everything
saying.
that's going on, it's liable to disappear on you, which,
Well, we may be able to purchase some parts of that and use that money now.
you know, you
And
put,
building a system,
Exactly.
but having a plan in place to build that system, I think for both sides, for the highway and us, would be essential to really figure out what we're gonna need to do that, and then actually work off a plan, and we might be able to do that. I don't know if that's in Kurt's budget still, or not, or is it just got left in here, or not? Because I know there's 5 here and 5 there.
His pager's up on Plum Road right now.
yes,
No, either way, so, I mean, I know Jake Garland is taking that on and kind of taking on our radio communication stuff, and we're he's researching it and really thinking that.
well, right now, there isn't any money, there is communication money in the highway budget, but it's pretty specific to their pagers, you know, he didn't ask for any additional money to be put into there for radio communications.
Well, we want to, if we worst case scenarios, have that money there to be able to do something for us, but we also need radios and pagers and stuff like that, so we didn't know if we wanted to use that money in some of the 10,000, the equipment, new equipment fund stuff. I mean, radios aren't, Kyle will know this, and you probably know this, is they're not cheap. They wouldn't last very long.
Yeah, but not only that, you people have gotta keep an eye on it and not get carried away and just spend the money because you think town's gonna pay for it. You've gotta watch your budget and
Well, that's why we have specific things that we're looking to spend the money.
what's the tool needs?
Which, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Toolbox with tools, it says right on.
Yeah, our tools at the firehouse are quite limited.
For
I
what
can
we're
count them
trying.
all on one hand.
What happened to all the tools that was over there?
Don't know.
Well, that's what's gonna happen to them again.
Well,
Hey, I've been there, so I know.
this is how it was when I started, so I can't answer that question. I have no idea.
And I
where
know
the
each truck had a toolbox and there was.
Well, there is a small hand tools, a hammer, screwdriver, but
It's small, but we have a.
we're trying to think about doing a
leaf springs to
tune-up,
change on
and we can't do a tune-up.
We don't have tools to do it.
We got mechanics in the department that could do a tune-up, but we can't do them because they ain't got the tools to do it.
You gonna do a tune-up on the diesel?
No, we're gonna do them on the 2 brush trucks we have.
Well, that might be, but you're not gonna
No,
mess
we're
with
not.
them diesels, and we
No.
know that. You're gonna take them somewhere to have it done.
That's right.
So,
I mean, I guess we could take the 2 brush trucks to someone and have it done and pay twice as much, which would be fine.
But you're not only talking 500, 600, 700.
But at the other day, we were putting chains on the truck.
I understand that's a lot. That's a lot of money when you're counting pennies, but
There's nothing that says that them tools won't lock.
What's that?
So there's nothing that says them tools won't lock. If we turn around and buy them.
We figured that out too. We're gonna have a locking toolbox and there's only gonna be 2 people with the keys. The chief and the chief engineer. And no one else.
If you do it that way, that's fine, but
Yeah, that's
if you
our
just
plan.
leave it open, that stuff locks, I know how.
I agree with you, yes. But that's our plan, to have it locked and only 2 keys and 2 people to have.
So there-
But how much of that, you figure that cost you?
We were figuring around $800 to $1,000 with a box and the tools and enough to cover it. Just enough tools to where we can fix it.
Yeah, no, I just was curious. You know, like I say, I've seen stuff locked, so I, in
Absolutely.
the hell of I, so I know.
Absolutely.
they strapped down, bolted down, and padlocked. They're usually all walks.
Okay,
So,
so I think that pretty much answered the confusion that we had about the equipment piece. So unless you have something else that you wanted to ask us, I think that pretty well answers the,
Well, the thing is, we also request that and the go on a warning, the usual for the fire truck fund.
10,000.
that's pretty much a.
That's a
Yeah, no,
boilerplate, but we want to make
it
sure it was formally requested.
needs to be re-upped every year.
Well, we appreciate you sitting down and talking with us.
And we actually do have a long-term plan on truck replacement too, so that's 2020, that ain't very
I don't wanna
far
hear
away.
that.
You'll only be halfway through your next term.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We still have Kurt.
It's too busy.
I'm not
It's not
particularly,
even hay season.
I'm not particularly happy about this because I really do, I requested a copy of the insurance claim that was put in for that mirror that they cracked in front of Leland and Gray. We still don't have paper on that. And I would.
Last I heard, they didn't have the information to put the claim in, so they were still chasing down.
Yeah, but you can't let that stuff go.
The woman came in to me, she gave me input information, I had contact information. Kurt called me, he immediately came in, picked it up and said he was putting in the claim. And
Which is what you told us.
I've generally done it, but they do their own every once in a while and there is no policy. So I gave him that information and that was the night of, the next night you had a meeting, Kathy asked about it and he said he'd get it down to us. Only if he went to Connecticut to pick up the snow blower on that Wednesday. Ed called me for the same information that I'd given Kurt, they hadn't put it in yet. And he was having trouble getting the information from the woman whose truck they hit. So anyway, and that's where it's been, I guess, the last couple of weeks. I haven't heard an update since last week. But they were still trying to get a hold of it. So, I mean, somebody needs to be in charge of these things. They can't be what it is. We've had these issues before.
All right,
By
well,
the sounds, you were the one in charge before, so
You
you
and I-
should have been the
No,
one taking
we're
the bull by the horns.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the curbstone rollover you and I walked up for, but no, this was a different one. But yeah, I put that one in. That was a,
That's
was
his
easy.
job.
well, and
As
that's
foreman,
where,
to get that information, where either that or the driver should have the information.
and that's fine. And that's where some of the problems have arisen, that some people think it's his job, some people have given it to me to make sure that we have it in-house. But that as may be,
In last resort, he should be the one who made sure it was here. That's what his job is, he gets paid for it.
well, we definitely need.
well, that is a question to ask him.
I think he needs a raise.
No, don't stop that. Just don't stop. Just
Right.
don't. Leave it alone. All right.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy it's on Sterling.
Okay, so then the next thing on the agenda, well, before we do that, should we actually give him a call and see if he's coming?
Joe can. You know his number?
9764.
You want me to?
I would like to know whether he's going to come. Because we do have a warrant pending, a
Yes, you
payroll
do.
warrant pending.
That was payroll.
Yeah, so you tell him we're gonna recall his check unless he comes in and talks to us.
Yeah, but
So,
there's a labor law against that.
yeah, there is,
So,
I know.
Article 7, page 15, line 12.
Anyway. Under correspondence, we have a letter from Peter Welch, and it's addressed to me, but it's basically just letting us know that, in fact, they did go out and do the assessment on the dam this fall, and that they're hoping that as this process begins, that they will come up with a plan, short-term, to do something with the dam, the beach area in particular, for next year, and then a long-term solution thereafter, trying to get the,
They did a short-term one already.
yeah, well, at least this
One
time,
year.
They need long-term mitigation of the situation.
at least they're aware of it, and they are attempting to do something. I mean, it's been beating our head against a wall, but we have gotten somewhere.
Yeah, somebody to
When I'm
answer
getting
them.
letters from our state representative, then you have to figure we got something accomplished.
Okay, and that's fine, they're gonna be here,
Okay,
they'll be here for a while. Okay, yeah.
I ran out of ink. No, you took my folder, I'm not done.
Done with my pen now.
That's right. So is he coming?
Yes.
He was nappy.
Crabby, yeah. Apparently I didn't email him. Anyway, it's fine, he's eating dinner, and Shelley apologized, he's tired, and he forgot, and he'll be here as soon as, the ice cream is on the hot pot. I mean, you gotta finish that first, so. The Alamo comes, he'll be up,
Okay.
he's on the.
The speed limit ordinance amendment?
You mentioned Peter Welch, did you?
I
mention
did,
something else?
I
Okay, yeah.
summarized the letter,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So speed limit ordinance amendment, what?
Yeah, we posted, you warned that on October 21st, it's a 30-day out. Basically, you adopted it, but not with a formal motion. That's the amendment to the speed limit ordinance signed in, and signed by her back when I was a kid.
Right?
That's the ordinance and that's the
Oh,
amendment.
so we need to,
So it was warned in October.
so I would entertain a motion to
Posted, excuse me.
to sign the amendment to local enforcement of speed limits on state highways for Route 30, right before you get into West Townsend. There was a was it 0.2 miles?
Yeah.
That was a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit that wasn't included in the
The state had
original.
changed the speed limit for a very short section. The transition into the village went from 50 to 35, and they changed it to 40 for 100 yards or 200 yards.
Yeah, right past the dam,
Yeah,
or the diner.
yeah. And we were notified by
So we
our
need-
law enforcement people that they couldn't stop people there legally because it wasn't included in our ordinance.
Oh, right.
That they could, right.
So we need a motion to adopt the amendment to the local enforcement of speed limits on state highway.
I make a motion, we adopt the amendment for the speed ordinance in West Hampton.
Someone,
Sorry.
second.
Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the amendment to the local enforcement of speed limits on state highway signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
And I'll notify the law enforcement officials and get them a copy.
Today's the 13th.
And Anita gets a copy.
So you're just following this all the way around, because you're on the first one, and now you're on the amendment. I'll let you do that.
Shows a copy.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
2003. And then we're going to do the town report piece first, before we do the budget review, because we're gonna have to do part of that in executive session. As I kind of outlined earlier, the discussion today with P-TRAC means that we're not gonna have a town report in the same format that we've had for however many hundreds of years. It's gonna take a different approach this time around because we don't have those numbers. So I've been speaking to Cynthia Davis, who Kit Martin set up to be the person that was going to put the town report together. And what we've kind of come up with is a loosely defined pamphlet that is going to include the statements from P-Check and from McSorley McCoy, the auditors. It's going to include the budgets, or the warnings for the school and the town. And it's going to include the budget for both the school and the town and the library and social services. So I need to know how you would like to go about the delivery mechanism with that. Do you want to pull all those papers together and have them stapled, bound, whatever, into a packet that can be either mailed or available for pickup for people? Do you want to send out the 2 warnings, which by law we have to do? We can send out the 2 warnings for the school and the town, and then have those available at town meeting. I'm not sure what
But if you
mechanism.
don't mail them out, I believe you have to pay the newspaper to.
You do, but you don't have to mail out the entire budget piece. You just have to mail out the warning so they're
No, but
aware.
I say, the warning part, you've got to either mail it out, or you've got to put it in the paper for somebody,
But if
3 or
we-
4 times, whatever it is.
If we make it a pamphlet, it will have the warning in it, and then we would be able to send the entire
Right.
pamphlet, if
Right.
that's what we choose to do. That's a more expensive method of doing it than just sending the warnings out to every household. So it's up to the board to make a decision as to how we want to deliver the information.
Mailing a short pamphlet will be comparable with actually publishing the warnings for the school and for the municipality. The publication costs are very high on legal notices
Right.
like that, especially when it's full body warnings. So you can, it'd probably be comparable to put a pamphlet together and actually send some information with the warning if you're gonna do a direct mailing. But there is a deadline, we just looked at it, was it the 2nd or the 5th? February, anyway, there's a deadline
That was just for the warning
for the warnings, yeah.
to be signed by, but they don't have to go out then.
No,
They have to be in the hands of the voters within, is it 10 days?
10 days before.
10 days prior?
10 or 12 days before the
10
meeting.
or 15.
Yeah.
14 sticks in my head.
No, I think it's 10.
Let's see.
Is there any way to have the warnings posted online somewhere?
It will be, on the unofficial town page, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, at least 10 days before town meeting.
Right.
Warning must be published
So
in
that's
a town report
right.
to avoid publication.
So if we go with the pamphlet, then the warning can be in that within 10 days before town meeting, so therefore we would be covered legally. Otherwise, we're gonna have to mail it out or publish it, one or the
Right.
other, to be able to do that. But we are going to need to come to a consensus as to what we want it to look like so that everybody can begin pulling the information together.
And
Okay.
there will be handouts at town meeting, because whatever's in that pamphlet is not gonna be all inclusive.
Well, we should have additional information.
I think we ought to put a pamphlet together, because, hey, if you come in and town meeting blindsided, not knowing what the hell the budget is or what they're proposing or anything, it's gonna be some time that
Makes it
you
more
ain't gonna know, you ain't gonna know what you get a budget or not.
A lot of people like to look down at the numbers. I know I do.
But see, we're not, the problem with the numbers is we're not gonna be able to tell you. We're not gonna be able to tell you if there's a surplus or a deficit, any given account. We're not gonna be able to apply that, because that's why we're stuck in this loop, in this mess right now.
That's because of the status of the audit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't have final numbers to
Yeah,
say,
Usually you have 2 years out in it.
well, we're not gonna be able to have 2 years out.
No, you won't either. That's right.
No, you won't.
So
be.
what we'll have is we'll have one proposed, one actual, the current year we're operating under, and then whatever the board is proposing for spending for 18.
Cause you could have your last year, well, this year's proposed,
Well, we could have
Numbers.
the current operating year and then what we
Right.
propose for next year. But we can also have the year before budgeted and actual, because that we will have the actual for. So it's gonna be
Okay.
confusing, it's not gonna be anything like people are used to.
Yeah, but 16, we never got completely audited, and that'd be the year before. We're on 17 now.
Well, that's right, we're going to 18, so we won't have the actual.
Well,
I'll make a
hopefully-
motion to send the warning by mail,
So just the warning?
everything that's needed.
Okay,
Which would be
so
a
the
pamphlet, would be a
pamphlet.
pamphlet,
The
right?
warning, the sending, the overage, the underage, all of it,
Motion to try to send,
whatever.
or trying to send, right?
Whatever you wanna put it,
Well,
just make a motion on it.
yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of trying to produce a pamphlet to satisfy the town report need for numbers and warnings, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Just forewarning, it's not gonna be anything like you've ever seen.
I've seen about 20 other towns over the years, I know they all done it different.
It's gonna be different. Not having those
No.
numbers is gonna be a problem.
I can remember back with a couple other times that the figures was not just always what they should have been.
Well, last year's weren't what they should have been, but at least they were all there. You could take them and you could morph them into what you needed it to say at the end. Because you could take this line here and put it over here type thing. We aren't gonna have them in that.
We had to make a map.
We made a map. Yes, we had a good map. All right, Kurt, we've currently got a motion on the floor for payroll. And I think Rob had some
Well, we had a
questions.
question about the hours. You had some days were on Saturday, some people on Sunday, some for 3 hours, some for, yeah, for instance, you were for 3 hours.
You know, giving the pay time. So he
You
knows.
got the sheets there, the day sheets.
Yeah, they're attached to the time.
Just done.
And then the part where, you know, not punched in,
Yeah, that happens when you get there early. We go right to our trucks. And loader or whatever.
I mean, you want to put in for on a Saturday, oh, Bob, you've got on a Saturday,
Yeah,
another person on a Sunday without a Saturday.
I salted. Yeah, two of those times, I got called by D-Trans, and once by D-Trans, once by the state police. So I go out and I salt,
That was in
And if I
November.
can-
It was the,
the end of November.
yeah.
If I get a call, I go out. And if V-Trans is nice enough to call me, give me a heads up, they're going out. And now I know about it, I gotta go out, you know what I mean?
Well, I think
Were they
that
Saturday nights?
it was just confusion
Sunday.
as to, because everybody was on different days.
Well, I try to call the guys if I can't get a hold of them. Cause I'd like to keep the overtime even and everything.
Do you, are there times that you don't go out and they do?
Yes,
Okay, so that would explain,
I try to keep overtime
Okay.
even.
You were in Brattleboro that one time, Bob.
Huh?
You were in Brattleboro that one evening, Bob, when check in.
Yep. Do you call, when you have to go out like on a Saturday or a Sunday, do you call in 2 guys?
I try to, yeah,
Why?
cause it gets it done quicker.
Yeah, but you're still paying.
I know, but.
You ain't saving a nickel, Ken.
I'm not saving a nickel, but if it's icy, I can't be on
Well,
Grafton
I-
Road,
that's
and I can't
different.
be on Wyndham Hill, and I can't be down there. I'd like to get it done. We expedite things to get things done if it is gonna be icy.
But
Why
then-
am I here? I'm
then
here to
we get
make the
into
road
part
safe.
Where we're answering the questions about getting paid for people that are on call for possible storms, for people that are that wanna get
We don't
paid
get
from.
paid for being on call. It's a state law, we should be paid to get on call, because it's a.
But when it
labor.
comes up every single time, that's what we're saying, is we'd rather not have it come through every time as, well, so on and so forth. It's like, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself, or if Bob can do it, have Bob do it. But we don't need to have the whole entire crew come in for 2 hours to cover something that shouldn't take, be
It all
that big
depends.
of a deal.
If it's snowing, people come in. That night, I did the upper parts, I did Grafton Road, I did the upper part of Athens Road, and I went up to Wyndham Hill, I didn't do the side roads because I didn't need it at the lower elevation.
That's fine.
But how do you know that? You don't know it, that's the whole thing.
What our point is that it shouldn't be a full-fledged snowstorm for every little small thing. And we're gonna get into that pattern soon, where it's like for 2 hours,
If we get
we're
this
gonna have
much snow-
6 people.
If we have this
the whole
much snow on
time.
the ground, you could talk to other towns, you could talk to the state of Vermont, you still do the same amount of time taking care of the roads with this much snow or this much snow. You gotta get the snow off, you gotta sand, you gotta salt. You put out the same product you do with this much as you do with this much.
Yeah, but how come the state's cut back on salt, you guys haven't?
We have cut back on salt.
What the hell you mean? The town's damn white up there. They tell me it's
We
cut.
have calibrated our trucks every year, we're putting out 250, 300
Yeah,
pounds.
not only that, your biggest problem is you're spreading them instead of letting the traffic working. Oh, yeah.
I'll talk to the guys, cause I do not do that, and they shouldn't be doing that either.
But just, that reminded me, we did get an unsolicited email.
From, oh, it's unsolicited.
Yeah. It just,
I should say
about the road salt. It just says, I hope the town purchased a boatload of road salt because the hill up to Grafton and all the way to the Grafton line had mounds of salt. I could feel my car rusting as I drove. Either the equipment is faulty or he's really overdoing it. Just thought I'd mention it. You know, the question becomes, should we actually be able to see mounds of salt on the road
No,
after you spread it?
By any means.
And
You shouldn't see it 2-3 days afterwards.
one of my points too is we don't have a bare roads policy. You know, we're not like as soon as the first snowflake flies, full on command until the last bit of road is blacktop. So that's something to take into consideration. And if the town wants it, then they should come to us and like say, hey, this is what we'd like. Propose it.
I think on a class 2 road, we get federal funding.
You get state aid for that.
No,
You
they're,
are required to
they're
follow
federal,
state
they're
standards.
federal fundings
Yeah.
on connecting roads.
I guess you was last Monday, you went up 91. You're talking about that. 'Cause I had to go early.
There's a chunk of salt that was in the road right across from Mark, or just down from Mark Lovergene's on Route 35 that literally would rattle your teeth when you hit it.
A chunk of salt?
Well, like
A pile of salt?
pile of salt. I mean, I didn't get out and make sure it was one solid
Was
chunk,
that-
but I noticed that when I hit it, the 3 times that I went over it with my dump truck, that it was rather rough. So I mean, what is classified there is not, you
Well,
know,
that shouldn't be, because we just went over these standards.
Well, there's hunks of stuff
what's the
here.
status on the snow blower? We bought a snow blower.
Yes,
Do we use it?
not right now, we're waiting for the other one to break.
Where are we gonna use it? Or are we holding out until the other one totally
Right,
is destroyed?
it's working now. When it breaks, a new one will go on.
Okay, so is there anything else along
Yeah,
this line?
where's the information on that broken mirror?
Oh, I was gonna,
The information on that, which one? With her information or our information?
The one the information that I had.
We filled out the thing on the internet for Vermont Leagues of Cities and
That
Towns.
don't give us any paper.
Well, I don't have it printed out, and I cannot submit it to Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. I'm still waiting from the lady's information. On the programs, somebody else will probably get around it. They have a thing, if you don't put the information in there, you cannot put it into Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns. We called Vermont Leagues of Cities and Towns, I told them, I said, as soon as we get the information, I have probably called Craig Hunt 5-6 times on it. I have been over to that school 4 times, and we still do not have the information from the woman. We cannot submit it on that computer, if that's what they want.
That may be, but you can do it by paper. Because you can go right to state police and get it out and action a report and it gives you all that information.
I could, but I was going through Vermont
But you
Leagues.
keep dragging your feet, And,
I haven't been dragging my,
well, it was quite a while ago when you came in and said it happened. They'd be dragging your feet or it'd been done.
Have you actually spoken to the lady?
I've spoken to the lady twice, and spoken, the lady, the girl that hit it, her mother owns a truck. They both work at Leland and Gray. I have been over there 4 times. I spoke to the lady twice and the girl 3 times.
And you still can't.
And we still have no information on it.
We need a license plate number and an insurance.
And an insurance number and address, a current address. We have nothing.
Didn't you get that day?
No.
I got contact, I just got the phone number for her and,
Her name.
and her name and where she could be contacted at Leland and Gray. The time, and she was calling the state police, I do, or the
I
sheriff.
got the
can't
plate
remember.
number, but they don't want the plate number. They want a license number and everything. For all
So,
these.
you could follow up with the state police and actually get the information from the accident report. Perhaps that's the way to do it, just to keep our tail end covered with the insurance company.
They've been notified.
Well, I know, but they still don't have paper, so they,
Well, that's because they don't do paper anymore.
well, paper in the sense that they don't have the physical click the
They have
button
an
on the
assigned
internet.
claim number.
Yes.
It's not an active, it's only notifying them.
So if you could follow up with the state police and see if you can get that accident report, that might,
You know, I think police right to the street.
that would work too.
And I think that might expedite things.
It might.
Obviously, me talking to them, or talking to Pat over the window to go get them, doesn't make any
Well,
difference at all.
evidently, she's not too concerned about it because she's not making herself available, but she's the one that called the state police. So therefore, if that's the case, then you should be able to get the information from them.
What is it, 48 hours, you're supposed to make out a nice report and turn it
Made
in?
it out that day.
You
Made it
turn
out that
turn
day
it
when
into
we
the
couldn't.
state, please? No, I say because that, makes a lot
Well,
of
the state
difference.
police never, they called me up, said they hit a thing, I said, well, you gotta come, I asked them to come down. They said,
Yeah.
Okay, so we beat that horse about the insurance claim. I still have on my clipboard the bank stabilization grant paperwork,
Yes.
and the state is calling, wanting to know if we're going to accept those grants, or that one in particular. And what are we supposed to tell them?
Well, you were telling, remember you were telling me.
Well, it's
And
a
I
long,
called Alan May, and Alan May said he did not get our insurance information. And I called Mr. Hunt, right, remember?
We're all set on the network
And
inventory,
now,
that one's
and
cleaned
now
up.
bad weather is hit, and it won't be done probably till spring.
but,
That's on the network inventory, the board never really approved the Plum Road one
right,
because of the pole
it's a
moving.
stabilization grant.
The Plum Road one will be done as soon as everything is out of the way.
Well, but the state wants to know how much money to reserve. And so they keep calling us and saying, you haven't officially accepted this grant. Do you want it or not?
Yes.
And we're sitting here going, but we can't tell you because they won't get the pole moved. So you're telling me that we're supposed to tell the state yes.
Yes. Everybody's moved except for the phone company now.
Okay,
Are
so
they gonna throw it in there? Okay.
then we're going to need to, there's Plum Road.
SharePoint has been notified too.
So then we should go ahead and sign this and get it sent in, is what you're telling me.
Yes,
We've had this since June.
yeah, I know.
I gotta find someplace to sign it.
Who is the telephone company that's holding it up?
Power company came finally this fall and did it.
Yeah, well, the poles are under the,
Telephone.
You need another copy, Kathy?
I can't find
Telephone
the
company never moved
actual,
the
the
wire.
actual paperwork.
They put the pole,
What about
oh, they haven't moved the wires either?
Yeah,
pole went up.
I had that problem once.
the grant.
They didn't
There,
wanna
I
move
found it.
You got it?
Didn't
Yeah.
wanna move the pole, and I told them, I said,
I got another copy here.
they didn't get an updated permit. I
Christmas.
said, I got a good shot chainsaw. It'll be 2 days, I had a goddamn paperwork.
You don't have to move it, but when you replace it, put it over there.
When you buy it, when the guy wire.
Just need
that's
that
the
one
guy
sheet.
Is that just that one sheet?
Yeah, just the signature page and
Oh, just like you, cause I
That
see
one
the
right
stuff and I told them not bother putting wires
and a
in.
motion to go with it.
Okay, so I need a motion to accept the, oh,
Stabilization grant.
BRO 52 or something like that, whatever's on the top in yellow, on the front page. I know that.
BRO 186, the Plum Road Stabilization Grant, in
186.
the amount of $11,410. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a-
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the acceptance of aforementioned grant, signify by saying aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion passes. So, you can send this in, they can stop calling. And now the clock is ticking because you only have a certain amount of time to get it done. Okay. Can't remember what I'm doing. I almost didn't write that. Okay, so here's your paperwork, Craig. You can put it back together.
Add it to my list.
Huh?
I'll add it to the list. Close enough.
All right. Then moving on to, oh, is there anything else for Kurt, or can we let him go back to his dinner?
How's the snow plowing?
Oh, great.
Good.
I guess that's it then. I do appreciate you coming down, but we were stuck on that warrant until we had something to ask you. And just for, again, my own edification, because I was not aware how much motor oil those monster dump trucks took. We had a bill tonight and it was 40 liters
40 liters. It takes about 14 gallons.
of motor oil in those, and I about fell over. I had no idea.
$146.
Just think about almost 5 gallons really.
I'm gonna say, I just changed oil in that 10-wheeler, and that took 40 quarts, 5 gallons.
So, yeah,
14 gallons.
so yes, I do appreciate
They are
you,
thirsty.
you coming in and taking care of that. We'll get this paperwork sent into the state so that, I'm assuming they will contact you. Have you heard anything on Wyndham Hill
Yes, it'll be this spring.
this coming spring?
The
That's the
high ri-
guardrails and the signs?
The high-risk rural roads, yes. I talked to the gentleman who was working with Chad over at the bridge. His Mark, his name escapes me right now, his last name. And he was working with me on that. Who? No.
It is a funky name.
Yes, Mark. And
You're on camera.
so he was, so
See him every day.
he's gonna get back in touch with me when spring gets closer. To the
This is for,
Wyndham Hill High Risk Rural Road, yep.
They'll wait for the weather to break.
okay.
This has been like 3 or 4 years now.
Well, that came out of blue, that award.
Well,
And the fact
I
that
filled
they-
that, I made that grant out like 3 or 4 years ago.
Well,
It's
I
been-
said,
It's been idled for that long, I remember.
it just popped up one day, you know, you've been awarded this, we're gonna come out and do this, do you want it? Did we ever sign that paperwork?
Oh, it's signed and sent in,
Okay.
yeah.
I got
They don't
you.
wait for federal funds to come and fill in the gaps where that was, and that's coming out of the thing that they just got a big federal safety money from.
Well, the thing of it is they were gonna replace all the signs up there, and that was before we ordered new signs and
Right.
replaced all the signs up there. So, I mean, that's when it showed up, which seemed redundant, among other things.
Okay,
But
thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, then the next thing, yeah, we can do this. Next thing on the agenda is a Rescue Inc. contract for the year, for the new year. The assessment stayed the same as it was this year, there was no increase. And I hate getting things with my own name on them, that is so bizarre.
Yeah, but we got a problem.
Well, no, we actually don't, because I'm not paid. There is no fiduciary, conflict of interest for me, because I don't get a nickel, in fact, it costs me money.
No, I'm doing all that, all right, but
You know, so we can actually sign the contract, I just won't be the person that signs it.
first,
Kyle can't sign it,
no.
and we don't currently have a secretary.
And you don't have a quorum unless you do, so do it.
Yeah.
There's no conflict.
But I can't sign it,
You
it's either
can't.
gonna have to be Rob or Irv.
Well, then appoint a secretary.
We just signed a bunch of more,
Appointed secretary, good stuff.
Appoint Rob Wright as
all
secretary.
sorts of stuff.
Oh, but I'm not conflict.
Good. Well, don't be
I
confident.
make the motion, Rob, I make the motion, Rob be able to sign the contract
So
for Rescue
moved.
Inc.
Second.
Irva's nominating Rob as secretary?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we gotta do the housekeeping.
All those in favor of appointing Rob as the secretary for the select board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, so now I will entertain a motion to sign the contract
Robert's rules.
Yep.
for Rescue Inc. for FY 8.
17, 18.
Yeah, that would be.
It's gonna be 18.
18.
It's done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
FY 18.
Yep.
Don't confuse
No,
me.
no,
You were.
trying to straighten it out.
In the amount of $34,249.60 for the annual. I'll entertain the
Same
motion.
Same as last week.
Somebody has to make the motion.
Make the motion
Okay,
to
so
sign the Rescue Inc. contract for $34,000, whatever dollars.
$34,249.60. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the rescue contract signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote yes. Aye.
Noes and
Noes,
abstains.
noes, there are none, and Kyle has to abstain.
Okay, so carries one abstention.
So, Rob, as soon as I find your paper, you have to sign it.
Congratulations, you have a job.
Top one,
Thanks.
top one.
How's it coming? Can you live out there yet?
Getting close,
Buttoned up? Buttoned up?
getting close.
Good.
Siding on the front of it today.
Yeah.
You're painting the inside.
No, they're not.
When's
Oh,
the,
no, they're primed.
you're doing a winter ribbon cutting, open house,
That's it.
springtime ceremony, inviting the public in?
Okay, and then I'll have, I can't sign it on the other end either, so we'll have Drew sign it, and then we'll be all set.
Well, I'm looking for the smorgasbord of little samples you can pick, little sample bottles you can. I was talking about defibrillation for free. I don't want a defibrillation. I want the buffet.
Well, I'll zap you.
No, I don't want any zapping.
That's not a problem.
I want the pharmaceutical buffet.
Okay,
Drinking all that sangria is probably gonna make you sick.
and then the next thing is, this one's gonna be
Congratulations, by the way.
Mr. Ers, Wyndham Solid Waste Recycling, open this can of worms.
There's no more recycling after
Really?
June.
There's
Maybe we
a
can burn it.
newspaper right behind you there.
They voted to do away with the,
13 to 10.
yeah, at the recycling facility that, where it was dual stream. And they didn't go single stream, so you were worried about cost, like now we're gonna have to find somebody to haul it and either buy some boxes or they'll furnish the boxes maybe and charge you for them.
Franklin has started a recycle outfit.
Huh?
Franklin just started a recycle outfit.
No,
Yeah, but he was one of them, he's supposedly representing Vernon, and he's one of them that voted it down. Of course, it's, as far as I'm concerned, there's two of them on the board there that was conflict, but.
Jamaica voted it down too.
Did you let them know that?
Oh, yeah.
Roxborough, Jamaica, and all them guys.
So the question becomes, what do you wanna do with the transfer station? Because by law, we have to have recyclables. We have to take them. So we're either gonna need to contract with somebody, and we never did get an answer.
We didn't, because I didn't get around to making calls, and then we were waiting for this vote, and everybody was waiting for it. And I've got numbers as to what our recycling looks like, but not knowing how it was gonna happen, whether we were gonna provide, they were gonna provide, somebody else was gonna put boxes, whether we were gonna stay in business. There's been discussion through the years of just getting out of the transfer
I'd
station
never
business
said that.
altogether. But anyway,
2 years ago, I think, well, I told them I thought they ought to get out of it.
Well, again, to get estimates on recycling, I can now do, everybody's calling right now, because you got an entire
Well,
district.
that's why we bought the used compactor truck.
Yeah,
Bob Spencer, Dr. Triple T.
yeah.
Now, I don't know what it was with boxes or not, but, there's gonna be $14,000 on top of our assessment,
For the hauling, yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
to haul it, and I don't know what he was trying, I didn't go to the find out what he was talking about furnishing boxes. Probably it was, we'd buy some boxes, you could buy some from solid waste district, they won't need them anymore.
So how much will the reduction, how much of the money we plugged into the budget would we use?
It's still 17,777, I believe.
No, it's gonna be 10 something.
Oh, it's gonna be 10, okay. All right.
So we do have some wiggle room
So
then.
there is $7,000 difference.
Well, actually, it's gonna be closer to 12, because it was with the recycling, they were gonna do the upcharge, we budgeted 22. But that's because the assessment had gone to 17. Now, with the change in this program, if it's coming back down, we'll need some new numbers. But if that comes down to 10, then we will have, obviously,
I don't think,
a bit more money
I
to play
know,
with.
we call it 11,000, that'd be, and I know it was a little
Yeah.
less than that.
Yeah, yeah.
So we've got, currently in the budget, we've got enough money in there potentially to cover a contractor to come and haul at least single stream? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Now,
think it's
well,
gonna
what did you do? Did you do the full with the 20%?
I think we put
We
the whole
put
thing
it,
in
we
there,
get,
yeah.
yeah, that hasn't
We
been
should-
approved, it's just a
Then we should
placeholder.
have close to enough, I think.
There's about 11 or 12. I mean, if you go with the numbers that Wyndham Solid Waste had
We
proposed.
come up to, according to the figures that, I thought I had the paper with me, but I don't have it.
Well, I've got it right here. It was,
Bob, well, I mean the ones, the assessment.
okay.
And according to what Bob Spencer said, it was gonna be, if we were somebody else, it was gonna cost us about $24,000, a lot more than for transportation and stuff, and what it was costing us the other way.
I think to be honest with you, this pipe in a little bit is, you got some, like Tams I know
Yeah.
offered Winhall a pretty good deal to take their recycling on top of their trash, and it was not a bad deal in some sense, to where really, I mean, the idea is if we want to get out of the trash business, I still feel as a community, we need to support some type of trash function. And having a contractor coming and doing it all, or we could do it ourselves at a different, you're still, everyone's paying a price per bag to dump there. That price per bag needs to cover the recycle and transfer and
Can't charge for
the truck.
recycling.
Yeah, but you can't charge it, you can put it all as in a bag as trash.
Right.
We had people come and might not even put trash.
That's where you would restrict it to only people, residents of the town, and where you'd have it per feet.
But then you need to guard it, because we have commercial operations that use the recycling
Yeah.
on occasion.
Yeah, 'cause I know that you've got people that don't even come in there, that recycle there.
Right, so I mean, the recycle
But I mean,
numbers
they're
will
from
be done.
town too, and they pay taxes. So,
Then where's their trash go?
Me, right? Kyle has a dumpster, I have a dumpster. A lot of people don't wanna go down there and deal with that.
I've got private service.
Barry Goulds got a dumpster, and I don't know how many more
Well,
I've
alright,
seen.
it's
Saturday.
really-
What fills the trash truck is somebody's filling the trash truck, so.
Probably half the people from Brookline,
Anybody buys
quarter
back?
to a third from Newfane. I mean, there's
Anybody who
people all
buys back?
over the place that are going there.
Well, we did put in the budget, after we had our budget meeting the other night, we put in under assessment, and that included the trash and the recycling of $21,332. That's what's currently in the budget, because that was what Wyndham Solid Waste said with the,
If that don't include the trash.
No, that doesn't include the trash. Trash goes to.
no, this is just the assessments for Wyndham Solid
Right.
Waste.
Yeah, maybe the assessment and,
And a 20% or 30%
Because the tipping fees is over here, that's,
20%, yeah, 20% surcharge
Yeah.
will be
That-
added to transfer station.
that we have another 15,000 in for the tipping fees.
Yeah, right, the triple T.
But
Right,
the tipping fees are paid by the bags. I mean, that's a cost neutral, or supposed to be a revenue neutral, expense. So the cost of the compactor and the trash, and the cost of triple T to take that, Brattleboro Salvage to take that is, paid for. We're talking about the recycling here with Wyndham
Yeah, right.
Solid Waste. And if the assessment goes down to 10 or 11 as you say, and we have 21 in the budget, that gives us 10. If you're saying it's gonna cost us 14 to have private contractor do it, then we're gonna have to look at this and get better estimates and pony up another 4.
Well, according to what,
Yep, what Bob was
there's
saying.
another sheet that came out, I don't know, you might not have got it.
Not yet.
That said, give a list by talking to, he talked to Triple T, but say if they was coming up and getting it. And it was about 14. So it's gonna be about 24, good 24,000,
where do you get to?
with the assessment and everything.
Oh, okay, so you're still putting it all together, okay. Okay, and right now we've got
But they are-
21.5 in there.
They are, they have a, thing in for a grant to get some boxes for, compost. 'Cause that's coming in.
That's coming in 17. We'll worry about that one when we get there.
Well,
That's Bears and
when this year starts,
That's
you're
Bears
in
and-
18.
Yeah, that's bears and skunks and raccoons, and we're talking eminent domain, and landfill sort of fire.
I don't know what they'll get
Fire
the,
going.
grants or anything for boxes, small boxes for different places, but then you still gotta have somebody truck them.
Well,
I just look back to when we did buy the used truck and the taxpayers voted at town meeting to buy a new one. And then they didn't really understand what's going on. I mean, some of the decisions should be figured out options and then let the taxpayers vote on it. If they wanna keep the trash business, this is what it's gonna cost. If you don't wanna keep the trash
we
business, then.
could do that as a special article, but that,
That's not the way to do it, go up.
Because you have until June.
If
to
they
come up with a
don't pay more
solution.
money,
that'd be pulling it together pretty darn fast. If you go from town meeting to July 1, try to get the word out, get everything in place, get your,
But town meeting is not a full representation of the
No,
voters in this
it's
town.
not.
It's a select group of people who don't work that day. I mean, to exaggerate it. But we don't have a fair representation of all the people that live in this town come to town meeting. And, yes, they approved 120,000 for a new compactor that we bought for, 30, and then we applied 22 that we had in reserve toward it, so we've got a deal on that compactor, but at the same time, an awful lot of people in this town, I don't know, maybe a third of them have gone to private hauling, or private, they have a dumpster, or they
you got quite a few people.
feed their animals, or they do
Deep hole in the
something,
backyard.
dig a hole in the backyard.
But
Eminent
the thing
domain,
is,
eminent
the
domain,
state-
start a fire.
the state don't care. If they have any come in, you gotta service it.
Well,
I gotta say this new, all these regulations they set up in Montpelier and give you that.
yeah, you can't put food in as garbage, well, you know what that means, that means flies and vermin and rats and
Bears.
bears and raccoons and possums and skunks, I mean, and that's it. And we can use the pit, or we can use eminent domain.
But if you,
Find a place to dump it.
I think
was
we
gonna
can
say,
let,
I know
I
all
get
that
it
needs to
out,
be
I
filled
do too.
but if you went with Triple T, they're all gonna be single source. No dual source. Everything glass and tin.
Which defeats the whole purpose of Vermont going green and separating it out, but we don't need to go there. We've
No,
had that conversation on another matter today.
That doesn't say, a lot of places go that way.
Well, that's what the private haulers are doing.
Of course it is. That's the only economical way you can drive up into the hills and pick up trash.
They
You
don't
can't
drive
bring
up into the
three-
hills.
Well, okay, but I'm saying you can't bring up 3 trucks, one for paper, one for bottles and cans, and one for garbage.
I say you can't really give it hard numbers until you actually get some numbers to see how much it would be for a contract from a hauler to haul it for you.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but we do have a Wyndham solid waste assessment. And it would be just a matter of figuring out what the additional
Can we keep
haulers.
it in that ballpark?
Exactly.
See, town of
But the
Groton,
district is gonna stay together as, and Wyndham Solid Waste Management is gonna hold on, even if it doesn't do any recycling. And we're a transfer station that's
Yeah, but
using
you-
Brattleboro salvage.
but you've got hazardous waste and all that stuff that they gotta cover. Hey,
Is the issue
there's a
that
lot more stuff to it than just.
Well, I know there is more stuff to it, but if they're not gonna take tires, well, I guess they will, tires and batteries and fluorescent tubes and all that stuff.
But also, probably the trash box will be there, cause they make charge a little more than what it costs them to get rid of it, so, but it's right close.
Yeah.
But it's 4 miles for Triple P to come up, pick it up, take it down and dump it.
Well, it was a pretty close vote, and I think,
But like
I'm not so certain that some of the towns won't wanna change their minds in a while.
before
Oh, I'm
July,
not surprised either.
before last July, they had a contract with Tam, and they was coming and getting the stuff. But when it comes July, they bid and didn't compete, I guess.
Well, the board will have to do something, that's,
Well, I think.
Think about it.
Well, I also think if we need to, if we're going to put it out as a special article, just like
Need to
we're
have some
talking,
figures.
well, yeah.
well,
we
you're gonna
need
need
to-
them before.
But I think we also need to start thinking about that warning that has to go out shortly, has to be finalized, we're gonna have to approve. So therefore, we're gonna need to make the decision that we're not going to include it in the budget, that in fact, we're going to put it out to the voters.
Well, we'll see
As a
if we,
special article.
we'll see if we can come up with some solid numbers here before the end of the year, certainly before your next meeting. I'll try to email them out to you so we can have a conversation on at the next meeting. I'll talk to Bob. And ask around.
He
There
can
are-
give, he
there
can
are
give,
people.
he can give you the amount of tonnage and all that
Oh,
stuff.
I've got that. I fill that out every quarter anyway.
But
And the thing is, with the district, they're still gonna deal with your legal obligations that you gotta file with the state and stuff too, so, I mean, that was a big thing that a lot of people in the select boards don't know, is that the district is handling basically a full-time employee for each town, almost 10 hours a week. And, you gotta make sure all your registered haulers in your town, are they all, are they got their certifications, there's another thing, make sure like your schools, all your large producers are doing their job, doing their, all
Don't
that.
get me started on
That's
that.
nothing we wanted to handle up here.
No, it ain't nothing you
Well,
want to
they're
handle
not-
here, so.
it's already
there's
up.
things to
I'm-
talk
Well,
about.
we're already responsible for it, but because we're
Yeah,
under the
but
district.
the district is handling it.
Yeah?
A lot of people don't understand that.
Okay, so now that we're essentially have moved into budget, is there anything else that we wanted to talk about in the budget other than having that wage discussion? Huh? Stop. No? Okay, well, if you could get some numbers on Wyndham Solid Waste, that would be helpful. I'm almost afraid to look, oh, we don't have everything in there yet. The budget sure as heck isn't going down with that much money. I was hopeful. Anyway, the one thing that Rob and I, when we had our little impromptu budget meeting the other night, didn't want to tackle without the rest of the board here, was to have a discussion about what to do with wages. And so none of the wages have been changed at this point in time.
At least an official discussion.
Well, yes, an official discussion. So I do know that in the budget proposal, we had a request for an increase in wages from the town clerk. It didn't appear that the listers put any more time in there, or they didn't change their number. And needs to say, we did not increase wages last year for anybody. So the question becomes, what would you like to do with the wages for the budget proposal that we're getting ready to put together? Somebody.
You want the conversation in open session?
May as well, unless we're gonna get, if we're not gonna get personal, then we can have an open session. If we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty of specifics, then we'll have to move it into executive.
I suspect you won't go nitty-gritty. I'm just saying, knowing this board, but open it up if you want.
Looking at me for.
Okay.
Something about you.
They're already looking at that.
I didn't work on Saturday.
What? What is the index issue, anybody seen it?
I don't know, has anybody seen?
I haven't.
I haven't got any notifications of it. I mean, nothing.
No, I think there was some, I couldn't tell you what it is.
I haven't seen nothing of it.
Well, America's gonna be great again, I know that.
The,
But if they do give you one, they'll take it up and share it.
I mean, the basic feel here is, you know, the fact that we have not, we didn't give raises last year. And we had talked earlier about doing a merit raise,
Okay.
at least for one individual.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Dale.
See you, Dale.
So I'm not really certain what you would like to do.
We talk about percentage increase of effect from here down.
I can't see what's at the top.
That's the separate one we talked about.
Yeah, that's the second one we
So
talked
forget
about.
that. And then we're talking about,
We're talking,
basically going to do a percentage increase on the wage rate and,
the hourly and, yeah,
yeah.
whether or not we're gonna, well, we also have multiple salaries. We've got, Craig is the salary.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Oh, 'cause I can't see that. Well, how'd you take the glasses off to see that far?
And I'm a little closer.
You're gonna pick on me, I'm gonna leave.
Pick on it, ask if you want to not.
Yes? What am I looking at? You're talking about the salaries, and you're talking
We're
about
basically talking about whether you do a percentage,
that and
which would
these.
involve these two
Yes,
employees and
yes.
the wage rate.
I'm like, exactly. That's what we're talking about right now.
Okay.
Unless we stick to our, we wanna change our original thoughts on the top tier.
No, I think unless you talk about something different in the budget.
Well, we were on a roll that night, and nothing was really happening, so to speak. We're gonna need to go nitty gritty on this, aren't we?
I guess we'll have to go nitty gritty on it.
If we're gonna do it by
I mean, I can-
individual.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I don't care.
You don't care? What about you, Rep?
I think if you're gonna get into the nuts and bolts of it, you kinda gotta get nitty gritty,
Okay.
Yeah.
you know, and
So Irv, are you of the impression that we need to get in and talk about specific people and specific money?
Yeah, I think we should, somewhat.
All right, then that answers that.
Executive session.
That's executive session, yeah, so.
Is that a motion, Rob?
Not yet.
motioning.
No, it's gotta be, it's
You
gotta be done right.
Clarify it, huh?
Oh, I don't know where to put that.
Evaluations.
Evaluations too, yeah, so it's going to be, I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session under one
One,
VSA
VSA.
313, section 313, A3 to discuss evaluation of employees.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving into executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Well, let's make it 7:40.
Okay, so can we have about a 5-minute break?
Yes.
Okay, are you still gonna talk about Taft Meadows?
Sometime.
That has to be on camera.
Camera's
Like I
on.
say, if we get everything done except for the executive session first, then Richard and Nat wouldn't have to hang around.
Okay, so there's a motion to go into executive after all other business is taken care of.
Yeah, that's.
There you go.
Amend it,
It's amended.
okay,
Amend it.
okay.
Done.
So now, what other business do we have?
Like Taft Meadow over here, they've been all over the snow mowers, they've been over top the ball field, well, the sewer system and everything for snow mowers. I think they ought to be posted. Nobody's got written permission that I know of.
Very
If they
true.
freeze that sewer system up, somebody's gonna be hot on it.
No, I'm not gonna say what I should say, never mind.
I don't believe it's the snow goers. Isn't it just private people in the
I
area?
think so, yeah.
I mean, I don't know who it is, I'm not down there.
I mean, I know Christina had asked about it doing something to stop the
Well, there were-
four-wheelers and
there were-
stuff.
I don't think it was the four-wheelers.
Yeah, was it-
She wanted to put a chain across the entrance, the two posts at the entrance to keep the vehicles from going down there. Because
Right.
we've had a situation of people going down doing donuts on top of the ball field, which is the septic system,
Yeah.
which
And also,
possibly
I was
could
at-
create
I
a
was
problem.
Went down to cemetery today and, holy Christ, there's been, well, went right around and around where the hospital septic tank is and right over top of the leach field and stuff up on the ball field and everything, with snowmobile.
Is Taft Meadows okay, just not the leach fields? I mean,
No,
what's
no.
your point?
But they don't have, nobody has.
The point
written
is, nobody
permission for-
has any permission to ride on it, and everybody
Anybody.
rides on it.
Should we post it, or should, I mean?
Well, that's what my feeling it is,
Yeah, okay.
yes.
I mean, it isn't. I
You've
mean,
got
it's
just a
like,
few-
it's like people shooting clay pigeons down at the gravel pit. You know, some people have complained about that, but we don't have an ordinance against, shooting shotgun in
But
the
you
gravel
don't have
pit.
to have it on, you can post that if nobody's got permission.
You've got municipal land upon which people are doing things that are potentially risky.
You read the law on the
Oh, I'm not arguing with
snowmobiles,
you.
you've got to have written permission on you, or proof of written permission to ride a snowmobile anyway.
Okay. So we
The
should either,
ATV is the same way.
so this is either a law enforcement issue, or we post it, no
No,
snowmobiling,
it's
or?
a matter of posting it.
Well, if you're gonna post it for snowmobiles, you may as well post it for all vehicles.
All vehicles or all?
All ATVs or
ATVs.
snowmobiles.
If you're complaining about having,
Recreational vehicles.
you're also complaining about having trucks down there doing donuts, it would do the same thing.
Well, you wouldn't have to post it if you put the fence or the
But you
parapet
can't,
across.
you can't put the fence across because you get into liability issues, particularly with snowmobiles, when in fact you've got a chain, you've got a cord, you've got a rope, and they're going fast enough they don't see it.
Switch to a cable.
So don't do anything?
Piano wire cable?
Just let it be?
No,
Piano
no,
wire, yeah.
well, my point is, you can't block the entrance with something like that without making it so visible that there's no possibility
They have
anybody's
this
gonna
stuff
get
called
it.
marking tape. You hang it off of it like the other people have for the past however many times.
You
they
do
want to
whatever,
do this.
you can do whatever you want, I don't care what you do, how's that?
We have a kid, don't scare them.
Well,
I mean, you do whatever you want. I'm just saying you've got to be careful liability-wise when you start talking about putting up chains to stop
So if you
access.
do nothing and they run over the pipe and get hurt on the pipe, or they run into the dugout, or they run into any of the obstacles that are on any part of the premises, what is the difference in the liability?
Well, if you post it, doesn't it limit your liability? Because they are doing it at their own risk.
That's what I say.
As opposed to trying to.
As opposed to trying to keep them out and then having them
Exactly.
get through, I mean, ideally you would do both. Right, you would be able to close it off and post it.
You could certainly do that.
But I think you're right about the cord and the chain. Unless
I
you
mean,
can
I know-
do, unless you can do a big gate that is,
I
but then
know-
you're in the money.
I know with horses, the electric fence wires, one of the big issues they have is snowmobiles coming across the field, they have no idea that wire's there, and they're suddenly tangled in it.
Barbed wire, that's why we use barbed wire.
That's,
There was a case up north that happened, and somebody got tangled up in the fence,
Yep.
but they didn't have any permission to be there. So
Right.
they couldn't come back on the landowner.
Yeah, but you know how much
Oh, yeah, I mean-
court time and
Yeah.
Private,
cost.
But being-
Private
Private
property versus
property.
municipal.
Municipal. it'd
It's
be-
private land, and for 15 years, Taft Meadows has been preserved for recreation. So, I mean,
Yeah,
the
but I
board
mean,
will need to
They
make
have,
it.
well, they did a little bit last year, but now, this time, you go and look at it.
No, I'm saying,
preserved for recreation. I don't think I saw that in the town plan.
well, it's not in the town.
Well, you
plan,
show me where it's in the town
No,
plan, then we'll bring it up at the
It was
meeting.
reserved for a town garage and a fire
but-
department.
Yeah.
That's what it, in fact, there was a study, you'll find it here where
I
the
know
study
where
on the fire department
I
and
was
stuff.
I was on the, we did that back in 2004.
I don't know, I never heard it being reserved for recreation.
Well, it's because people wanted to walk it, walk their dogs, keep it mowed, use it for various, and any building proposal has been, pretty much looked upon sourly, by townsfolk at this point. That having been said, it would be up to the board to make an announcement that unless they have permission, that recreational vehicles, are not allowed on there. Are you gonna allow cross-country skiers on there? I mean, they're not gonna tear up the leach field, but I mean, you run into that same, if somebody gets hurt on municipal property.
Are we gonna ask a bird for permission to fly over it too?
No.
Well,
but
let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it.
I mean, can people use it? And if, are
Well,
we just
is it gonna be something
motor
that's gonna
vehicles
be a
excluded?
detriment to it or a positive to it?
Well, I'm saying, you
What
can
that is,
exclude
you know,
motor
we could
vehicles,
go
all
to-
motor vehicles.
All sorts of extents about it. The point is it's a ball field, and that shouldn't be torn up,
Right.
and, I don't know, whatever, I don't care.
Put a lot of work into making that, and,
Oh, no, I'm not, I'm just being
as I say, they,
Well,
right off.
advocate here, to
I
clarify.
think the
if you're gonna
trails lead
exclude
to
motor
your land, we'll
vehicles.
go down on your land, we'll baja around that time in and time out and burn the whole thing up.
I'm just looking for some, to advocate for a policy that prohibits motor vehicles from Taft Meadows and the ball field and cemetery areas, for clarity. And let people walk and ski and snowshoe and do
Do we
whatever
wanna
they do.
do we wanna do motorized?
I think that we
motorized?
should adopt somewhat of a plan of whatever the state requires as far as, I mean, you can't go down on the West River Trail and baja across that on your four-wheeler and snowmobile or whatever. I mean, there's certain areas, whatever, but there's other areas that there should be a little distinction.
So that doesn't, still
No.
doesn't. What,
No.
go ahead, Con.
There's no unauthorized vehicles.
And that's fine. I mean, we get a sign made up, we can make an announcement at the table and get something.
Would you say no unauthorized vehicles? A lot of people aren't gonna consider snowmobiles even though they're licensed to be vehicles. You're gonna get into the definitions piece.
Vehicles, motorcraft, spaceships, drones.
Can we have
windows.
spaceships? I like spaceships.
I mean, whatever the legal definition is. Go steal the sign on the National Forest, right across off US Forest Service. Fucking put it in a field, that sums it up.
Well,
That works? Well,
That's
I-
pretty much what you're looking at. You can hike, ski, whatever else. You can't have a vehicle up there.
So is that the motion?
So it's-
second,
So that was motorized vehicles then, correct? Okay,
No unauthorized use.
of motorized vehicles, there you go.
On town land. Because Taft Meadow, I mean,
No, because we
trying-
can't get into that, I'm just,
Yeah,
we're
okay.
posting the area, so let's say no unauthorized use permitted.
Okay. Okay.
So everybody okay with that language?
Sounds good?
Second Irv.
All right, so
Call
all
Anita for details.
those in favor of,
Okay.
posting the, was it Taft Meadows, the cemetery and
would be
The ball field.
the ball field
Yeah.
with,
The cemetery, we don't have no control.
well,
So,
no,
well,
but
Taft Meadows in the ball
that's
field.
true.
Yeah, because the cemetery's got the gates closed anyway.
Taft Meadows in the ball field. Okay.
So all those in favor of posting those two areas, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Whoops, motion passes. Okay, so is there any other business? Okay, hearing none, then we're gonna move to an executive session at 7:45.
It's 7:50. If you're not gonna have a resolution
We'll take
coming
5
out.
minute
I wanna take, okay, so, right, you call it whatever time you want. Yes, we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Right.
I'm gonna go stick my head in the toilet.